Urban Therapy with Sun752, and this is your daily go getivism number 480 for January 26, 2016. Listen, tonight I want to talk about putting up a fight. Fighting for something. Is it worth the fight? Does our ego get in the way of us putting up a fight? And what I mean by your ego getting in the way of you putting up a fight is like, first of all, let's start this thing from the beginning. When I say fighting for something, I'm not talking about getting physical with somebody. I'm not talking about, putting your dukes up and going toe to toe with somebody, scrapping or whatever. No violence. I have to make that distinction because a lot of people think that that's what you are really talking about when you say that you're fighting for somebody or fighting for something. Violence is not necessary. The thing that you're fighting for is the effort that you're putting forth. The effort that you put forth when you try to do something, you're fighting for it. And there's really nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times we get put in a position by other people to make us feel bad about trying to keep something together, trying to hold on to something, trying to make something work. Who has ever not tried to make something that they love or even like work? Who wouldn't put effort when it comes down to that? I know that on social media, especially, and I know I blame social media for a lot of things because you have to observe a lot of things that are going on. Social media is, in my opinion, taking the place of the media that you see on TV, here on the radio, and all of that, because we recognize, a lot of us do anyway, we recognize that that's a fantasy. A lot of that stuff is scripted. But we look at social media as regular people just like you and I. So we think that a lot of the things that happen on there are real. So they can make us influence. They can influence us in ways that we may not even recognize, even though we know better. So I'm saying all of that to say this. Anything that's really worth having is worth putting up an effort for. And in essence, that means that you are fighting for it. Now, you have to choose your battles, and if you have grown up with good values instilled in you, then you're going to have a sense of responsibility. You're going to be rational to a certain extent, and you're going to try to make the best decisions that are available to you, or the best decisions possible. So, when you make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, because it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. It's easy to look at a situation after you've already failed at it and say, this is what I should have done, or why didn't I do this? Yeah, you didn't do that, and you didn't do those things because you was living your life in real time, and sometimes decisions have to be made like this. We don't always have time to breathe, and there are other things that influence us, and sometimes the wrong influences can make us feel bad about doing something good. It's not wrong to fight for your family. It's not wrong to fight for your loved ones. It's not wrong to fight for friendship. It's not wrong to fight for those things. All I'm saying is that you're putting in the effort when it comes to that. So when people come along and try to make us feel bad about fighting for something just because we didn't win or just because somebody didn't put in the same kind of effort that we put into it, well then, you know what? That's life. That's what it is. That's life. You learn from those experiences, and hopefully you don't make the same mistakes again. But you might make the same mistakes again because you're not going to be dealing with the same people. And there are a lot of people out there that influence us in different ways that make us make the same mistakes because that same energy is coming through, but we don't recognize it. Sometimes time passes and people approach us in different ways. So we don't know that it's the same package in different packaging. But don't feel bad about trying. Don't feel bad about putting in effort or putting up a fight for something. Because if you'll fight for something small, then when the big fight comes, then you're prepared because you done already won a lot of these battles, or fought a lot of these battles, or lost a lot of these battles. So you're battle tested. And if you're going to go into a fight, then you want to be battle tested. You want to have a couple of wins under your belt to give you that confidence to be able to fight again. And you're going to be fighting for something, man. You know, you might be fighting. You might be fighting for the one that you love. You might be fighting for love. That's not to say that if somebody else likes your lover or whatever, you know, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, that's not to say that you going to step to them on some jealous shit or whatever and try to do them in. Yeah, that happens with some people, but that happens with some people that are kind of stupid. You know? Because you can't make nobody want to be with you. But if somebody wants to be with you and you want to be with them, number one, they won't put you in positions where you'll feel like you have to put your hands on somebody else. That's number one. Because if you are dealing with somebody who relishes in that kind of thing, and there are people out there who relish in that kind of bullshit. They just are. There are people out there, you know, who let their ego get all out of control, and they like to see men or women fighting over them. So it makes them feel good inside. Yeah, I guess it would make anybody feel good inside, but that's some irresponsible, selfish bullshit. And that's some troublemaking shit, and you don't need that kind of toxicity in your life. But we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is when you are trying valiantly to try to make a relationship work because you believe in it, and you believe that the person that's in it believes in you too, and they believe in that relationship. And sometimes y'all don't just click all easily like that. Sometimes you got to work some shit out. Sometimes you got to work out the immaturity that you've grown up with all your life. Sometimes you have to work out the fears that you've been having and suppressing all of your life, and it's not easy for you to come up out of that. So you have trust issues. There are a lot of things that happen with couples that you have to work through and that you have to fight through. But that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Because you're going to learn from those things. Things may not work out exactly the way you wanted them to or the way you thought they were going to work out. But they will work out the way they're supposed to. And you take inventory and stock of all of that. And you process it. And you get back on your horse and you try again. The same thing with a job. The same thing with clubs and organizations. The same thing with friends. You know? You have to fight to keep those things intact. And the more you know about fighting, the better you're going to get at fighting. But once again, if your people have raised you right and put a lot of good stuff in you, then the stuff that you fight for is going to be worth it. Hopefully. At least they will on your end. On the other end, yeah, we take our bumps and bruises. We make our mistakes, and sometimes we realize that some of the people that we've been fighting for just weren't worth it. But guess what? You gotta take that chance sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta give that a shot. Because if you don't give it a shot, if you don't put up that fight, then you'll always wonder what would have happened if you did. And that's that. I would rather be with a fighter. I would. I would rather be with somebody that wants to try. Somebody that's not afraid. Somebody that's going to ask questions. Somebody that's going to put forth some serious effort. Somebody that's just not going to give up. Somebody that's not going to lay on their back and with their feet in the air like a roach and just say, you got me. I'd rather be with somebody that has passion in their heart. And that's whether they are a lover or a friend or a family member. I like triers. I like fighters. I'm a fighter. I'm not saying everybody got to fight the same way. But it's always good to get a few good fights under your belt. And like I said, not all that. Not all, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might have to do that too. But that's when somebody has tried to hurt you. Somebody's trying to harm you. Somebody has tried to harm your people. Sometimes you have to handle that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about fighting for something metaphorically. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind. And anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours. And just remember, there's nothing wrong with putting up a good fight. Because the fight that you put up is nothing but effort. It's nothing but trying. It's nothing but trying to make a way. And deep down inside, even the people that try to diss you when things don't work out for you, they appreciate the fact that you did try and that you weren't afraid. You ain't act like no little punk. You went for yours. You fought for yours. Yeah, you might not have won the fight like a champion, but you fought like a champion. And if you keep fighting like a champion, you will be a champion. You're a bigger champion than them. Anybody can run away scared with their tail between their legs and shit, talking about, well, I would have fought if it wasn't for this, that, and the third. Nah, nobody want to hear that. Those are excuses. And that's for lames. You ain't got to be that way. I'm just saying, you ain't even got to be that way. I'm going to holler at y'all. Oh, speaking of fighters, the Take the Fall event is this Saturday. We fight. Because, there's no adult left behind at the Take the Fall event. Wissahickon Avenue and Rittenhouse Street in Germantown, Philadelphia. 10 a.m. Come through this Saturday. We do this once a month. We going in the woods. Somehow, because we got to make sure that snow is out of there. If the snow is still in there, we're going to make sure that nobody gets hurt. And maybe we'll have to walk on the smooth trail. But, man, I don't want to do that. Because that's not as good as a fight. As good of a fight, I should say. I'm going to holler at y'all, man. Peace. See the old coverage of Million Man March? Million Man March 20th anniversary, baby. All right.